we go. Thanks for reminding me, David. Next on the list, we have Clint, KA7 OEI.
Hello. Yeah, it seems like even if I get on right while somebody's talking, I'm the next one in line. Must be alphabetical or something.
Yes, I think so.
I've been working on a documentation project, I should say, that that happens to be related to RF interference and stuff, um, and hopefully the fruits of that will be obvious in less than a year. But when things get published, but anyway, but it's been having a fun and interesting time testing out various things that I've done in the past, documenting them, for finding interference and making sure they really work like I remember they do before I commit them down on pieces of paper or something like that. But the inverse square law still works. See, one interesting thing happened was we did have a one of our biggest local swap meets, but it was lighter than expected, and nobody's quite sure what the deal was. Was it because gas prices are too high and a lot of people didn't drive 2 or 3 hours away? Everybody's getting too old to drive, or what? But it's still good to see other friends. So back to you then, Dave.
Could also be a lot of old hams getting rid of gear.
Well, a fewer of those seemed like there are fewer of those. There's one guy actually handing out flyers for his pre-croak sale, and it wasn't quite clear whether he was just being judicious or whether or there's something more worse going on. But he seemed jovial about it. So anyway,
Well, okay. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead.
You already called on me.
Oh, sorry. Then next on the list we have another Dave, Dave HW6OQ.
So this week I worked on reviewing some stuff that Paul sent out. And other than that, see last week's report, as the joke goes.
Yep.
Later.
Okay. And then next on the list is David McGaw in 1HAC. Go ahead.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Um, as I mentioned, I'll cut to the weather that we actually had it in the 60s today, and pretty concerning for us because that's kind of shutting down our maple syrup season. Um, but we get what we get, and working on my ground station here, making progress, but ran into an interesting situation with Chinese knockoffs. I've got bought one of the Chinese versions of the GS232 that talks to the Yaesu satellite rotator. They did not implement the command structure properly, which has been causing um, you know, me to tear out as little hair as I have. Um, I'm sorry, I'm going to step onto a soapbox here and say this is why the Chinese are not going to surpass us technologically. I'm not concerned about that. They did not implement the full command structure. The took me a while to figure out what they did with the um, uh, calibration. The one thing is the instructions are, I mean, the commands are not as Yaesu has them. It does have an offset and a full scale calibration to it, but it doesn't bring up a display that Yaesu does. It just, you set it to 0, you set it to 360, and it sets the calibration. But the one that was really interesting is that they did not implement a full UART. You have to have the two or three characters concatenated, and you can't have a just get on like real term and type characters. Doesn't understand that. So I figured out how to send the characters strung together. That worked. But oh boy, that took a while to figure out. And I haven't found anyone who's documented that online, which is the really odd thing, because these things are all over eBay. But I did finally get that. I have my rotator working. Now it's time to figure out how to mount the antenna with a mast that doesn't crack on me. I had a fiberglass mast. I couldn't get it tight enough before it cracked. So now I'm going to try PVC and see if that's good enough. But anyway, we're making progress. And uh, also, I had an interesting thing come up. I'm looking for, something at the 500 to kilowatt level, 450 megahertz amplifiers. I found one online that looked promising, and then I realized they were selling it as new old stock, but there weren't any connectors on it. It was just solder. And I think, no, this was removed from service. And that means it's not working. Um, but I found I've got one amplifier that's got a 3CX400 in it that probably is good for 500 watts if I push it, if I can figure out how to implement it. It's Motorola. They don't like allowing their documentation out, so I may actually have to figure out how to buy a manual for it. And then there's Bob's, but he's in North Carolina, so that's not helping. But on the other hand, this is interesting. We are using USRPs, and our primary guys in Montana um, think they can move Birdie out of the way and may greatly increase both our transmit and receive sensitivities. So more shall be revealed, but these are the subtleties of SDRs. Is they do have their birdies, and I'm sure ours do too. So back to net.
Very good. And next on the list is Michael Howen, AC0G. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I was discussing a little bit earlier, just got back from Italy, so I haven't really been involved much in any radio business for the past week and a half or so. John Ackerman is trying to install my software on his location so he can subject it to some better metrological testing, comparing it to different clocks that he's got there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well that works. And I'm looking forward to resuming discussions with Rob on the fourth version of Whisper Demon. So back to that.
Very good. Glad you're back, safe and sound. Next on the list is Phil, K9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey guys, not too much to report. Just got back in town, let's see, Saturday afternoon after visit to Baltimore and ARDC meeting in Vancouver. So I haven't really been able to accomplish too much since then. Back to you guys.
Okay. And then next on the list, we'll go to Scott Newell, N5TNL. Go ahead.
Hey, I don't know. It was a pretty hectic week, and I don't know that I did anything. So I guess I'll just throw it back to the net. Pretty scattered.
Well, hopefully that you had some progress. Next on the list is Tom, N5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, good evening, Dave and everyone. I've been writing Verilog code all week, working on the FPGA for the quad receiver. Talked with Franco Venturi. He gave me some help with some of the FX10 state machine codes. That's been real helpful. Still more work to do in the FPGA, but should have a pin out here pretty soon so I can get back to work on the schematic. Back to the group.
I have a question for you, Tom.
Yes.
Do you have any of the Tangerine parts left, or did you send those to Scotty?
I sent all the receiver boards to Scotty. I have one of the data adapters, which you had to plug the Max 10 development kit onto,
Yeah.
and the clock board, and that's all I've got.
Okay. I just wondered because I sent all my boards to you, and I was trying to figure out where all those went.
Yeah, I got the receiver boards, but nothing else. None of the data engines or the adapters or
Okay.
anything else. So, and I sent all those receivers to Scotty.
Okay.
So it was fun while it lasted. Back to the group.
So we've been communicating with Scotty, John Eckerman, and I, and we're trying to figure out the deposition of the Tangerine project. So anyway, next on the list is Rob Robinette. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, as Michael mentioned, my major effort has been around. I'm working on the Whisper Demon version 4 client, which is complete re-architecture of the software uh, environment. So I'm spending a lot of time with my friend Claude, whereas my wife. My wife is becoming an expert, but she calls it Claudette. Uh, and she is impressed very greatly, not with its coding abilities, but with her usage of it. Um, let's see, helping a lot of people get back online. OE9 GHV, upgraded software there, and so in trying to get people uploading to the WS server. So get that configured. And nothing. I actually have I have I have this is I guess you can see in the background, Phil. This is the gateway machine I made for you, and this is a WebSDR Clint for you, dedicated to you. So I'm thinking I'll go out to KFS this week and install those, and you guys can start to use them when you have time. So that's all that occurs to me at the moment. So I'm back to that.
Okay. Well, I've been doing a little additional work with this upcoming uh, change in Nathaniel's Zoom capabilities. So the story is Scranton is not going to support Zoom for Nathaniel anymore, and I think he's moving to Teams. Nathaniel has offered the Teams server for us to use for our Monday night. I did some exploring. Um, Something I didn't know about TAPR is we do not have a Zoom license. The Zoom that we use for TAPR belongs to one of our members, and it's his personal account. So, so I've run out of anybody that has alternatives. So without any other input, Nathaniel will be changing to this other server, and that's what we have available to us uh, in the future. So I don't know when that will happen, but I just thought I'd let everybody know that there will be some changes sometime. And there will be changes uh, either way. If somebody else steps up with a server that we can use, that will be appreciated, but we'll see. So Now we're open for general discussion.
On the Zoom thing, Nathaniel mentioned last week it would be in June.
Yeah, I think it's May or June. It's after Hams Dayton.
We have Zoom at work, and I'm not really offering that, but I'm
Okay.
told it's about $150 a year on an annual plan.
Yes, that's
And
about
I
what it is.
believe there is a discount if you're a 501c3 organization that
Oh,
takes it
okay.
down to half.
Well, I could look into that.
Would I mean, I'm willing to kick up if I'd pay money to use Zoom rather than go to Teams.
I know you're a outspoken
Yes.
proponent for that.
Let me know if you need anything on that. I'm willing
Okay.
to contribute.
Thank you.
I would contribute too.
Okay.
And even if I contribute, I don't want to be an admin.
Me too.
You can be in charge.
Well, we'll see. I'll discuss it and we'll see. But the person who had the other Zoom did not want to use it for this, and he does not participate in this forum. So I thought it was a little different situation. So anyway, um, open for whatever. Let's talk about radios instead of that.
I could bring up something.
Yes, go ahead.
A friend of mine in Canada is active doing civil defense kind of work. You know, the ham radio club that he's a member of is serving as the kind of communications backup for, I think it's kind of like central Vancouver Island. He lives in Ladysmith. And they've been doing NVIS experiments because that's what they're planning to use as communications for the region. It's a fairly large area they're covering. And I forget the dates, but this last big geomagnetic storm we had on a Saturday, I guess, what, 2 weeks ago, or is it
Yes,
3 weeks ago?
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Uh, anyway, what they've been doing is running a NVIS test occasionally on 60 meters. And what they do is they send out the word to all the locals that they're going to run a test on a Saturday that's closest to either the equinox or the solstice. So they were running a test on Saturday that was, I forget the date, but I think it might have been just the day after the equinox. And it's a 3 hour operation where they ask people to check in and exchange signal reports and their location and everything to see how the coverage is. And the coverage was zero to start. And later, it's a 3 hour kind of thing. And later, the bands did start to improve enough that they were getting call ins. But originally, all they had were ground wave stations. But he was commenting that signals were very weak and distorted, but subject to very large signal change from could barely hear the guy to S9 and then back to barely hear the guy again. And he was curious and he thought he would ask me. Well, I might know a little more than he does. He's not a dumb guy, but but he thinks I'm a propagation expert, but I wondered if anybody else had any observations or any comments on what it might be. I was kind of hoping Nathaniel and maybe some of the others that I at least know their background better, but I wondered if anybody had any comments or observations on what might be going on. But my analysis was they were suffering a lot of modal change or that was producing constructive destructive interference that was causing the case of the slow QSB and what sounded like from his description a very rapid, almost picket fencing kind of QSB on the signals. So that's if anybody's got any comments, I'd love to hear them. And he was going to write this up, and I haven't heard from him since, but
This
he was going to
this
go
is
ahead.
this is all daytime stuff.
Yeah,
Oh
Clint.
well,
I'm sorry. Yeah, it started at noon and went to 3 o'clock
okay.
local
Well,
time.
D-layer absorption does really weird things when the sun does weird things. So
Yeah,
that's about the worst of it. So yeah, yeah. I mean that's the size of it, and I guess farther north you get, though, is that true with D-layer absorption when the sun burps? Is it worse farther north or worse near the equator where the
I would think it
sun?
would be worse near the equator, but because the angle's
But there's
greater.
more than one mechanism, though, right? I mean, there are proton events that come in along magnetic field lines that cause the aurora that really increases D-layer ionization near the poles. I mean, it can be totally opaque.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, check out the NOAA Space Weather site. They show this, right? They show a map of D-layer absorption, and when there's an event, I mean, the poles are just red, which means, like 35 dB or
Yeah.
more attenuation.
One thing that would have been interesting too to note, and I guess Whispered Neben really doesn't check this because there's no coordinated effort and it's hard to do. It'd be interesting to have noted what the distant uh, distant AM broadcast stations were doing at the time, because my understanding is the problem. Well, like if they were running 630 meters, you might have not noticed this issue too much. But whereas 70, I mean, 40 meters, you can kind of have NBIS, but it's really clobbered by this
I,
sort.
I, I I don't know what I said, but it was 60 meters
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
were. Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
didn't know what I
Yeah,
might have misspoken is all I
yeah,
was.
right. Yeah, I years ago we used to do in Utah. We used to do a boating event on the Green and Colorado rivers, and before there was portable VHF repeaters, from the 50s until the mid 90s, it was all 80 meters, and every so often there'd be like 2 or 3 hours, or just everything went away, and they would come back. But people tried 40 meters and found it less reliable. But at that time, we didn't have 60 meters. So I think 60 meters would be uh, more like 80, but still more susceptible. And of course, in the old days, 160 was, well, the king of the roost for local-ish stuff, as in a couple 100 miles radius. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, a couple more comments that I recall. He said they typically have over 100, like 130 or so check-ins to this operation, and I think they only had about 30. But he said he felt a lot of people got on and checked and didn't hear anything and just went away. But um, I, I thought it was certainly interesting, and it certainly points out that even something that should be very reliable isn't subject or is subject to outages too.
Well, yeah. I guess he was more interested in the cause, understanding the cause, rather than trying to find a workaround. And unless you're almighty, I don't know that there's a workaround.
Well, it's interesting. He was also, concerned at the distortion that was on the signals when they were there later in the day.
Well, it's multipath, of course.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. What interesting phenomenon that I often I off so I get on I'm on several groups, and one thing that often happens is you can't hear the guy across town directly. You have to hear them by Envis essentially. However, the exception to that is that we've noticed is that there's a guy that lives across the Salt Lake Valley from me. I mean, if there weren't so many trees in the way, we could see each other. We're about 10-ish miles apart. But if one or both of us go to verticals, we can always talk to each other. But if we're on horizontal antennas, sometimes it's a fight. So there's that consideration as well. Now, as far as Envis, I don't know that verticals would be a great idea
no,
unless they're 3/4 wave verticals. But on 60 meters, you aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
well, anyway, thank you, everybody. Glenn, did you hear my comment earlier about my S6 noise here on 630?
Right. Yeah, I did.
Okay,
One of the things I tell people is that most RFI begins at home. So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, yeah, and then I also tell people switch your receiver to AM. What do you hear on the noise? And that most of the time,
it's
yeah, vast majority of the time you hear 120 hertz or harmonics when you switch to AM, even
well,
if it sounds like noise on side.
this is going whoa, whoa, shh, 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 and you can see it in the spectrogram.
So
So it's
so the weirdest QRM situation I had was so I have on my roof, I have a metal roof on my house, and I have a evaporative swamp cooler on the roof. But about maybe 6-8 feet from the evaporative cooler, on one of the vent pipes, I have an E-field whip antenna, old LF Engineering 400B. So one day, I was, decided to tune in the receiver to just listen to some NDBs, and was greeted with just this like 20 over noise floor. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? It had absolutely no modulation on that I could tell. So I was wondering what this could possibly be. So I, put a battery on the receiver and hook it up to I think I have a little short, one of those little FM MP3 player FM broadcast band transmitters. So I could have the radio in the shack hooked up to the antenna and go outside listening to, a Walkman type thing and hear it. So I turn off all the breakers of the house, and I hear the hiss go for a couple seconds, then sort of wind its way down, and then sort of slowly stop. Then I'm thinking, so I then turn the house back on. Then it takes about a second for it to slowly wind its way back up, and which is even more puzzling. So I started flipping breakers and finally found one branch where that was doing it, and 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 I was even more confused. So I walk around in the house and with the H field whip, can't figure out anything about it. Then so I just started turning on and off things that I knew were on that switch, and I came to the swamp cooler. So I turned off the swamp cooler and it ramped down slowly. What it ultimately turned out to be was charge transfer in the water dripping down through the pads in the swamp cooler. And with all the paint and rest on the swamp cooler, they were electrostatically floating in air, and they're just charges transferring from the individual water droplets dripping out of the distribution lines. And so I was on the roof, and I could grab this and change it dramatically. So what I did is I went around bonding everything on the swamp cooler and fixed the problem. But it was just charge transfer, and since it was only like 6-8 feet away from the E field antenna, this massive disturbance in this E field, probably thousands of volts of droplets moving around, was more than enough to mess up that antenna.
It's how lightning is generated, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although cosmic rays are probably a little bit less involved with yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's moving water droplets and charge transfer.
True.
Yeah.
Rain static.
Yes. Essentially I was creating my own static. Yeah. And so I eventually had an electric rain stick on my roof. Go figure.
I was wonder about swamp coolers and how much they must cost you in water bills.
A hell of a lot less than electricity for an air conditioner.
I mean, they're only good in dry areas where water is already pretty scarce. So,
right. Well, today got up to outside. When I came down, it was like 71 degrees, but it was like 13% relative humidity.
yeah.
So, Utah is about the perfect place for it, except for about 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah. So, where do you get your water from?
Well, that is a problem. We have hardly had any snow.
And I mean, desalination of seawater is hard enough. Great Salt Lake's got to be a lot worse.
Well, they're fixing that by intercepting it before it gets to the Great Salt Lake.
Yes.
So we're ending up with this massive salt pans.
Salt plant.
Right. Yeah, and occasionally when things converge wrongly, you see, like a couple of years ago, the winds and the rain came in the wrong sequence, and no matter what color car you had, if you had parked it outside, it was white. And then there were also many local power failures as poles caught fire, because that same white stuff is conductive, and if you had compromised insulators like petticoats resting on the cross arms, you had fire. So anyway, that happens every 3 to 5 years. Massive lines at the car washes, which means even less water, go figure.
Yeah. Another topic, I just posted a link to the chat. It's a webpage from PA3FWM about our favorite SI 5351 clock generator. And it seems to imply that the chip can do more than it's documented in terms of small step sizes. I don't fully understand it yet. I'm still studying it. Anybody else seen this? I think it got mentioned in the Whisper Demon list today. It's where I found out about it.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned it to Glenn about a year ago.
I'm not sure what it means.
Well, we were more interested in how the chip worked internally. He had some thoughts, and I think if you read the sequel, he's got some experiments where he's got a phase interpolator built in.
Yeah. I read that. Yeah, there's 2 pages. The one I linked it, and it has a link to the sequel.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how the phase transitions are not. I mean, they're stepped, but on the other hand, the scale here is picoseconds. So, I mean, what I'm puzzled by is his statement that the formulas they give for the dividers are much more complicated than they need to be. And I'm trying to, and not all possible dividers are possible when not all values of the dividers are possible when you use those formulas. I'm trying to figure out, is there, would I gain anything by changing my own code that programs this thing?
Didn't Hans Summers write about something similar in QP Labs?
Don't know.
I thought he did, because Hans Summers abuses the heck out of the 5351. I mean, he's able to, like, you take example, the QDX. When you if you're doing even ready, for example, or you could put any mode on the QDX, which is an analog input. And what it does, but it only works with single carrier modes. And what it does is it measures the frequency real time, and then it changes the frequency or phase, or phase. I guess I think he can. I think he can. I'm not sure if he can handle phase of the modulated carrier to match. And you can get 300 baud through this thing, and also
So it's a PLL, okay.
well, kind of.
Yeah.
He doesn't go into too much detail, but apparently he's actually not using a PLL. He's actually measuring the frequency on a cycle by cycle basis or something like that. Then on the QMX, of course, he is using polar modulation by 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 effectively changing the equating frequency and phase.
Right.
So, but he seems to be getting better frequency resolution than you would otherwise think. Or phase resolutions, I guess, is just as important.
Of course, there might be a reason why they don't document this. Maybe the phase noise specs are not met.
I don't know. I haven't read the article. I'm using the 5345, which is close cousin of the 51. We use that on Tangerine, and it's also on the quad receiver.
Yeah.
And I was able to get it to misbehave by essentially picking prime numbers for all the different divisors.
Yeah, that would do it. Yeah.
And it put out some pretty bad phase noise when we did that. But that was about the only odd thing it did.
Yeah, well, that you kind of expect. So here he's trying to deduce the internal structure of these dividers. And not only do they have fractional end, apparently they have multi-phase. You can actually jump phase is one way of getting a very small divisor change. I think that's what he's talking about.
Glenn Elmore would certainly be the one to talk
Yeah,
to.
he probably would. Yeah.
I haven't looked it up. He describes on his webpage a continuous phase method of precise or exact frequency generation. And apparently Leo Bodnar must be doing the same thing on the newer versions of firmware for his radios, because you might recall we were having a quote problem with the with the Bodnar being
Oh yeah.
parts per trillion off, or I think like that.
Yeah. I think that was mentioned at the conference. Somebody was talking about
Right,
that.
right. And then Bodnar fixed it, so it is essentially exact now.
Yeah.
For almost any frequency. Now, I suppose unless you're using really ugly frequency combinations, you should be able to come up with exact integers. But even if you're not,
Yeah.
I mean, if you went out, if you had 32-bit integer and continually changing stuff, you could make it take years and years for something to happen, I guess.
Probably fix mine before the next frequency measurement test, which I think is next month, isn't it? I've been wanting to do one of those. When do the frequency measuring tests? Twice a year, April and what, November?
I think so. Usually it's like the second Thursday in April, I think. And the one in November is, I think, the second Thursday in November.
Here we go, April 17th.
April,
November. Yeah, April 17th is the coming one. 0230 Zulu.
Yeah,
to get in to get on the higher the green box, I think they call it, you have to be within a hertz.
Yeah, I usually get within, unless I make a stupid math mistake, I usually get as close as propagation and Doppler shift allows.
Well, that's just it. You really, in order to do that, you really have to understand what the ionosphere is doing.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of unfair if you're like next door to these guys.
Right.
K5CM and W8RKO.
Yeah, I'm close to Connie, and normally I have worse propagation from him.
K5CM, how far are you?
I don't know, 150 miles?
Yeah, ground wave of 40 meters, 150.
No, I don't think so.
Not at that time of day, certainly.
I
No.
think the problem is that, you've got a triangle there, and I think it's actually worse for me.
Yeah, because you're probably you're getting a high incidence skywave
Yep,
that
exactly.
goes. Plus, if you are getting anything along the ground, they're going to interfere. How about on 80 meters? I mean, they translate on both 40 and 80.
Right. I don't know that I noticed a lot of difference. I think 80 is a little more stable, obviously.
Well, my plan is I'm going to record WWV on all channels along with these test signals and then try to do some post-processing. You
Yeah, I
got
do
3 days
CHU as well.
and CHU, you got 3 days to submit your entries.
Yep.
The way I've always done it is I have a Schlumberger 4031 here that produces exact, decade frequencies, and I'll generate a signal within the passband, within a few hundred hertz of where I think it'll be, and then just record it to a wave file, and record and do that with WWV before and after for
Yeah.
all waves, and then I can do it at my leisure.
Well, my plan for measuring the frequency of a carrier is just to record to an IQ file and then take a spectrum of it using, I don't know, probably Audacity or something like that. Or maybe write my own if it's not accurate enough.
I use Spectrum Lab, the DL4YHF one.
Is that free?
Oh yeah,
What's that called? Who did that again? DL who?
DL4YHF Spectrum Lab. It's actually reasonably powerful. I mean, it's sort of it's kind of I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of an inspiration for GNU radio because you can put in blocks if you like.
Yeah. Okay, I see it.
Blocks.
Right.
One thing that I've used heavily in the past is it has a interpreted language kind of vaguely reminiscent of BASIC that you could actually, if you wanted to automate a measurement system and have it trigger or do stuff on a serial port or whatever, you could actually make it do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Does it only run on Windows?
unfortunately, yes. Although I think people run it on Wine.
I can run Windows in a emergency.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Last updated last July, so he's still maintaining it.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty mature at this point. I've used it real time to generate sideband frequency shifted sideband signals or do phase decoding or something like that. I mean it's just
Yeah.
I mean it's been around for I don't know probably 15 years at least.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on the mailing list talk about using FLDigi. That's what I normally use.
Yeah, because it has a built-in analyzer also. I mean, I could use K&IQ Web, except that the smallest bin size is 1 hertz. And that's because it's an integer.
Well, the replay would be a little bit tricky too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can do it real time and record it, so that if I screw something up in real time, which I probably will, I can go back and try again.
Yeah, I record and I find that takes a lot of the pressure off.
Yeah. I don't do anything except a vague rough sanity check when recording.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you're recording it the same program you play it back with, you're not going to get a frequency error that's measurable.
Record it with the same
program and hardware that you're.
Well, I mean, it's going to be recorded. It's going to be clocked by my my GPSDO through the RS888 and playback.
I was referring to errors at that on the audio side.
Oh,
audio rate errors. Well, that used to be more of a problem. If you recall, back in the days of Windows XP, depending on what hardware you had and how good they bothered with their drivers, you could end up with things like 10, 20 hertz off sample. You could end up with percentage errors at sample rates on some hardware on Windows XP. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I'm blessed slash cursed with perfect pitch, so I'd play music and it would sound wrong, and I realized, oh, it's 3% off.
Well, yeah, 3% is a lot, actually. I would hear
Well,
that.
yeah. The worst I saw was like 8% error, but at like 11025 kilohertz sample rate. But if you ran it at some exactly what is it? What is it? 48, 24, like 24 or 48 kilohertz. Exactly. It was pretty close. But if you got one of those.
Oh, okay. It's the same problem, we have with the clock generator chips. The step sizes are too big.
Right.
Right.
And there was some sort of interpolation in the drivers that was just terrible. So they were doing all the fixed. The hardware could only run at like 48 kilohertz or something, and whatever crappy interpolation they did in the drivers, and there were actually third-party programs you could get back in the XP days that you could actually fix that with. If you were doing audio where frequency and pitch mattered.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see. Now, the league has a link to a article in QST about the results of the. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's about the measuring test. Okay. I was just wondering how good the current results are. I think unless I come up with it hurts, it really doesn't get me anywhere. I assume they publish them in May or June or I don't know when would they come out. Well, I've got all the QSTs here. I should search them.
So Scott, I just answered your question on the FX3 reset line.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it's actually possible to get to it. I was going to send you a picture, but then again, I realized the description would probably be good enough.
Yeah, if I open mine up, I'm going to do everything at once because I don't like taking it apart and dealing with all the little cable stuff.
Right, but to get at it, all you need to do is push it out like an inch or a half an inch on the USB 3 side, and you can actually, with the tiny iron, you could actually tack onto the reset line.
Oh, that's perfect.
Right.
Speaking of which, triple eights and clocks, I've been setting up my test environment for Whisper Demon 4.0. I've been using triple eight returned by K3LR, which was disappearing from his or never appearing on his USB bus, and I had just set it up and left it here for weeks and turned over there, and there were two triple eights, one from WWV that was still there, and the K3LR had disappeared. So I'm trying to, and could only be, appear again with a replug. So I'm hoping I can address that issue. I've been putting your 20 Scott, your 20 millisecond, your 20-second timeout firmware in it. So I'm hoping it seems that I saw it appear again once. It disappear again once after about 20 hours. I ran it overnight and it didn't disappear. So it's a very difficult to reproduce problem. But but at least at this point, if with your software in there, and I changed the service file so that Radio D won't continually try to restart, or System D won't restart Radio D when it fails. I'm hoping I can capture this situation and understand it, and explore, see if USB rescans or something like that might regenerate it. Well, the other subject for you, Scott, is and Phil, any progress on integrating your time sync featured WD record into the one that's part of the Phil's build.
Yeah, I've been working on it, but I don't have the pull request submitted yet.
Okay, good. Well, I'm
And by the way, I just checked WWV, KPH1, and KD7EFG. I noticed KPH1 won't start because of something with the Kiwi recorder.
I'll go look. Okay, sorry.
It's in the TMUX pane.
Okay, you know, KPH2 lost its
Yep.
its AAA has disappeared.
And it looks like KPH1 is on the latest version of Whisper Daemon, and I saw there's a log comment about Kiwi Recorder. So I wonder if you made a change and it wasn't quite right.
Well, maybe the configuration is wrong. We
I haven't
did
changed
have
anything.
it does get its 2200 meter and 630 comes from a Kiwi. That Kiwi lost its RF feed, but that was fixed on Saturday. So that Kiwi is now functional, and I'll go look at it and see what's wrong. But you're saying you cannot start Whisper Demon?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, well I'll go fix it. I'm in the middle of debugging something else, but it's on my to-do list.
Anybody know if the league does publish FMT results in QST? I'm trying to find.
No, they haven't for decades.
Oh, I haven't. Oh, so where do you get
I
there?
sent you the link. It's in the
please.
chat.
Yeah, please.
It's in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Result.
yeah. They used to do what the FMTs until the 80s, I think. Then they stopped for a decade or two, and then, but in the old days they would publish them because I guess what email or what internet, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess it's not considered sufficiently generally interesting or something.
Well, especially nowadays, since well, I mean the what is it what is it de-nerdifying or de-teching of QST a bit? I don't know.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you rarely see any in-depth technical articles. I haven't seen it personally, but I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was saying that this year's April Fool's article was probably one of the more in-depth technical articles that he's seen in QST recently, which is a bit of irony because
I haven't looked for it
because it it caught him. It was all believable until near-ish the end.
Yeah. Well, that's the best April Fool, right? It only gets those who don't read it all the way through. See, I'm looking here. Okay, in order to get in the green box, you gotta copy all 4 transmissions better than 1 hertz. And there are a bunch of people who do that.
Right.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
20 or 30, something like that. Let's see. Counting by eye.
Yeah, if you had a do it only by ear category, without not using FFTs or anything like that, not
that
using
would be.
computer.
Yeah.
I would know how to. I could probably get within a hertz or two if the signal's strong here. But
you can beat it against something and look.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
But the actual results here are given to 10 millihertz resolution.
Right.
Claimed anyway. I assume they know how to measure properly.
A couple of years ago, it just so happened that their transmit frequency, the one that they used was exactly or within 1/10 of a hertz of an even numbered hertz, which disappointed me. So for that particular band, they had lots and lots of people who got it right.
Oh, because he rounded and got it right. Yeah.
Correct, yeah, because I think
Yeah.
they do have a tenth of a herd category too on the
Yeah.
webpage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought,
Oh, well, at least at this resolution, I probably don't have to compensate for general relativity.
not unless continental drift is many orders of magnitude greater than you think
No,
it.
that would be special. No, the general would be difference in elevation.
Of
Blue
course,
or red shift due to gravitational. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always found the Doppler shift. So it used to be they did it out of Newington as well as Connie out of Texas, and the Newington ones on 20 meters after local sunset when the sunspots weren't really high were a challenge. Sometimes I couldn't hear it at all. I would record it and think I see a signal. In fact, a couple of years ago, I got an email from somebody who saw something I wrote about I made a guess and couldn't hear it. So he asked me if I could send him the WAV file of the recording. This is like a decade or a dozen years afterwards, and I rummaged around my old hard drive partition, and there it was. And he was able to. Then about a week or two later, he emailed me back saying, I found it, and here's what I did. And of course, a priori knowledge does help a hell of a lot if you know where to look exactly. But yeah, it was. And then when I revisited it, I could kind of say, if you did a bunch of statistical analysis, you could kind of imagine that on that noisy spectrogram thing, that there was, on average, more energy there than anywhere else.
Yeah, well, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, if there's Doppler in the ionosphere, then you're going to be that
Oh,
centroid is not going to be right. It's going to be off.
right,
But if
right.
it's just, if it's just random measurement noise, then yeah, the center would be their best estimate.
Yeah, yeah. It occurred to me it'd be hilarious / a challenge for somebody to do a frequency measuring contest on 6 or 2 meter um, um, auroral signals that are spread over 100
Oh, yeah,
hertz or a kilohertz, just to
yeah.
see how close they get. Because I was listening on 6 meters during the 1989 Aurora incident when I lived in Central PA at the time, and on six, I was building a 6 meter transverter and got the receiver working, and then this is like late at night, got it working, hooked up the antenna, and I heard the telltale hissing keyed hisses of Aurora on 6, and then also tuned up higher, and I heard all this whispering going on that I couldn't understand a damn thing. So quickly ran outside, and sure enough, bright as moonlight, there's this massive aurora. It's the same one that took out Quebec Hydro, back in '89, and that would be hilariously fun to try to get anything close to a frequency measurement on there. And I also wonder what kind of narrowband digital mode could possibly work under such conditions.
Yeah. I'm looking at they give the a little the notes from each of the entries. The last FMT, there were 90 entries, and they describe their methods. AA3I, who got in the green box, says he simply uses a TS590S with a Bodnar GPS source for calibration, WJST. Okay, yeah, I mean, it doesn't require anything super fancy. I see an ICOM 7851 plus a Symmetricom Rubidium GPS. Flex 6400. HP Z3805A 10 megahertz GPS DO. Well, that's a long list of stuff. But all these guys are within a hertz. Let's see, A3I minus 0.38 and 0.14 on 40 meters, minus 0.1 and plus 0.16 on 80 meters. Okay. I mean, these are doable numbers.
Yeah.
Although, the people who are closer really have an advantage.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's come a long way. It wasn't until 1927 that WWV themselves started using a quartz oscillator.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, nobody else had one either, so who could tell they were off frequency?
Right. Well, back then too, all the AM broadcast stations were on one and two frequencies. One of them was 833 and a third kilohertz, which turned out to be some even number of meters. I'd have to figure it out.
Yeah,
800
yeah.
divided by 833.3. That'd be 360 meters. And there was another one, which I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sounds like European railroad supply frequencies. Till recently, it was 16 and two-thirds hertz. Now it's 16.7.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Well, 16 two-thirds is one-third of 50.
Right.
But that was causing heating problems in some of their synchronous converters. So they actually went asynchronous and moved it up slightly to
Oh,
16.7.
okay. Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is used in all the German-speaking countries in Europe, plus
Yeah.
Finland and Norway. I mean, Sweden and Norway.
Well, it wasn't until about a decade or so ago that they stopped producing 25 hertz up at Niagara.
I think
I believe that's right.
Amtrak still uses it on the
Um,
southern section. They still use 25 hertz. The northern part uses 60 hertz, but the southern part, like the part near Baltimore where I'm from,
okay.
is still 25 hertz. Yeah, they have their own
Yeah. During World
network.
War II, the largest single power, connected power pool in the North America was 25 hertz.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in fact, some of those old, a friend of mine collects old radios, and if you lived in Eastern Canada, there's a reasonable chance that your house ran on 25 hertz. And he has some radios from that era, and they have massive power transformers in them for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and I bet light flickering was a real nuisance.
Even with incandescent, yes.
Yeah, even with incandescent.
Yeah. Imagine,
There's some
imagine
non-US
Morrison.
stations. Some non-US stations entered. DJ3EI entered.
One thing that's interesting too along those lines is I have an old 1936 Popular Science magazine that has an article in it where that year Los Angeles switched from 50 to 60 hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't until maybe the 40s that all of the US was actually 60 hertz.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Before our time. So it's like, ancient history.
Right. Well,
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Well,
right. It feels that way. I have to keep remembering that when I talk to younger people today, that, things that I remember are ancient history for them because, like
yes.
9/11, for
yeah.
example.
And we've kind of moved backwards because what is it? I don't know if it was Ackerman, but one of the TimeNets guys was working with the guy in Texas, to measure how accurate the Texas power grid wasn't. And I've heard that at times you could, if you had a mains referenced electric clock, it could be off by like 10 minutes over the
Oh,
period.
yeah.
Yeah, in Texas.
Yeah. Well, it fluctuates with supply demand imbalance, so they try to keep it close on the long term. But
yeah, whereas in the rest of the U.S., it'll vary by about 30 seconds over a period of months. But when you talk about 6 months, it is averaged out okay. In fact, he has a neat animation where he had a camera set to GPS time, looking at an old wall clock. You see the second hand just kind of dancing around.
Now, see, I did something like that too. I took the hour and minute hand off and set a webcam to take a photo once a minute and then,
Right.
Made it into an animation. And
Yeah.
like you said, plus or minus 30 seconds, but it was kind of exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Here's some guy using KNIQ radio on the last FMT. Somebody with call N5TNL.
Must be one of those weird time nuts guys.
Hey, he made it to the green box.
Hmm.
That's not bad. RX 888 KNIQ radio, PCM record, SDR console, the DMOD, FL digi to measure. Wildly guessing at Doppler corrections. CHU at 7849999.721 with a standard deviation of 0.091. WWV at 4999999.748. So the ionosphere is moving up at this time,
Yeah, yeah.
which makes sense. It's early evening, right? So yeah, so that's what I mean. I mean, all these are going to be biased low a little bit.
Well, all but one.
Yeah, WWV at plus 0.159. Wait, were these different measurements at different times?
Yes.
So what? One during the 80 meter. I forget the order in which they do these things. 80 and 40 meter runs. Well, clearly the ionosphere is your limiting factor here. I mean, just look at the offsets in WWV and CHU.
You know, look at my error on Ohio versus Oklahoma. See, I'm in Arkansas.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
close
you're
to
only off by
money.
0.1, negative 0.1 on Ohio on 40 meters, which is probably the more difficult one. But you were 0.74 hertz off on K5CM.
And that signal K5CM, it's booming. It's loud.
Yeah.
And same thing on 80.
Was it fading?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I mean, you know, you had multiple components and they were interfering with each other.
So being close is not necessarily better.
Yeah, unless you're next door. Yeah, you did all right on 80 meters, 0.06. That's not bad. On W8 RKO. Yeah, I was wondering if anybody here was using K9Q radio yet. So, okay, looks like there's at least one. Anybody else on this list? Looks like you're the only one.
I don't remember seeing anyone in the last couple of years.
I usually remembered the day after.
Yeah. What was your GPS DO, Scott? You don't mention it here.
It's the Trimble Thunderbolt. It's one of the TAPR ones.
Okay.
At 10.
Yeah. Well, your time reference is probably something worth measuring or worth mentioning in your results is what you used for a time base. Some people were using rubidiums. Here's a guy doesn't mention it at all. Okay, NF7R was off by 0.01 hertz on 40 meters from Ohio, and all he says is with IC 7300 with FL rig and FL digi. No mention of what he used as a frequency reference.
I've always wondered how many of those were really good just because of a swag.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, is he to have the same error on multiple bands or just or
No. I mean, well, K5CM 0.73, WRKO 0.24, K5CM 1.03. So he missed the green box by just,
So I'm thinking that was probably a swag.
Um,
A wild ass guess.
we got three of them well within a hertz. I mean, that isn't guessing. I mean,
Well, okay,
use frequency analysis to build database, whatever that means. Manually trimmed obvious outliers and trim mean for final figure. Trim mean. Okay, well, he did some statistical analysis, but your data points have to be something to start with.
I know someone who did it, and what they simply did was left the radio on and set the thermostat so it didn't go turn it down in the middle of the day, and then just measured WWV before and after, and kind of crossed their fingers that the radio didn't move during the FMT, and they actually got really close. I mean, it turns out the radio really didn't move, within
Yeah.
There's a lot of luck involved. Let's be honest.
Now this is
yeah.
odd. This is odd. Okay, here's RU0LL was on 40 meters on both stations was off by 1500 hertz, but on 80 meters he was well within 1 hertz. Something was wrong with his 40-meter setup. But he didn't say anything about his method.
1500 hertz.
Yeah.
I
On W8RKO off by 1499.55 and on the high side, and then K5CM was off by minus 15.1, 1500.1 hertz.
One year I just made a stupid math error and got off by some exact wrong amount. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And
Was he using what was the receiver? The 3586 selective level meter. I think it has a 15 kilohertz IF. Maybe he put that in wrong.
1500, 1.5 kilohertz. Or he didn't say anything at all about his method. No comments. Nothing under method, nothing under soapbox.
one method that I used, it was a quick and dirty kludge. So back in 2021, there's a guy that left his radio keyed up for 3 months in
I
Colorado.
remember that. I remember that.
Right.
We had so much fun finding it.
Right. And people, the reason I got involved with that was because people were saying, oh, it's near the Utah SDR, and I had to point out it's unmodulated. The Doppler doesn't work with the damn.
I explained, I don't know how many people, why that would not work with the CW signal.
Right. And it turns out finding a CW signal that is on HF is really, really difficult. I mean,
it is.
So there's several things, So one of the things I did was, I set up one of the Kiwis to, and some I forget what even I used, but one of the ways I used it to automatically log the signal strength and the exact frequency of it because it was fairly strong because it only moved a few hertz. And the way I ended up doing it was for some reason, the only way I could easily do it was generate a local audio signal, and then I had to run the audio through a squarer, so it's essentially its own local oscillator.
Right.
And then I ended up with something in the that shifted. I don't remember exactly why I had to do it that way, but that was the easiest way I could do it without invoking any equipment. But one of the ways that we kind of found. So what we did was we have some of those. I and several other fellow hams. We have some shielded H loop antennas. So we took the best we could readings of the bearing and the elevation at different times of day and compared it with WWV because we figured by then that it was probably somewhere in the southern-ish Utah, southern Colorado area. Just by where you could hear it when, and with several, like 3 or 4 of us getting elevation and bearings, we figured out it was probably in the general area of somewhere around Durango to Moab, which is a pretty damn big area.
Yeah.
So eventually, a friend of mine who has his own airplane, what he didn't do is he didn't deploy a trailing wire, and he didn't fly around in his airplane and he didn't use his HF rig while flying, and he didn't using I think what is it a half wave antenna, I think, use it to determine a null and fly on it, and then he didn't determine that it was actually in a certain area kind of by Grand Junction. He didn't do any of those because any of those would have been illegal, right?
Yeah.
So he posted that on QRZ, and then one of the locals, I guess out of Grand Junction or somewhere in southern Colorado, just on his weekends to just drive around. And eventually he just stumbled on it. And
who was it that actually plotted the frequency of this thing? Because
I did.
You did that. That was pretty cool.
Right.
You could tell when the guy got home.
Yes, and suddenly you could actually tell when he apparently remotely turned on the heater in his cabin, suddenly the frequency whoop and stayed
Yeah.
on, and then it just disappeared. But yeah, so but one of the things that I hadn't thought about up to that point is, if the guy was using, say, a horizontal dipole antenna, there's really no way you can drive around and DF it, because when you get close, it's vertical, and then you lose a bearing. And
Yeah.
and if you're using a dipole, the takeoff angle for anything reasonable height in a few trees is going to be way above your head,
Yeah.
so you can't even hear it.
The best you can do, I guess, is just strength, signal strength.
Right, or you go in a freaking airplane.
Yeah.
Just curious, what band was this on?
Some
40.
40.
Yeah,
40, okay.
around 7033. It was keyed up for like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so eventually the guy actually got cited by the FCC. I could probably find it. And interestingly enough, the ARRL on their website would, do the FCC actions sort of thing. And he actually got cited twice because apparently, he got cited for that. And then apparently I think he also was linking GMRS repeaters together, which is a no-no. I think he got cited for that too, because I guess while you're throwing a book at somebody, you might as well.
Yeah. I know. I mean, the first one, that was accidental, then he's probably embarrassed enough. I didn't think he
Right.
would do that. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy that actually found it refused to say who it was.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how the FCC eventually found out who it was, because
I'd like to know where those mystery wide shift FSK transmitters are on 40 meters. I think they're in
yeah,
Russia or Crimea, maybe.
I was noticing them the other day.
I get them strongly here at sunrise, probably gray line. I
Yeah.
was listening to a European SDR yesterday, and they were really strong, but KFS couldn't hear them at all. So
Mhm.
I guess they're really plaguing a lot of hams in Europe.
Yeah, I was noticing them on northern Utah
Yeah.
one morning. Yeah.
Yeah, they ought to be easy to localize. You'll notice that the keying transients are not filtered. I mean, if you look on a spectrum on a waterfall, it's obvious that they're not trying to filter the transitions, which means that they should have nice sharp edges that are easy to locate.
So let's see,
Like
these are
timing.
so the ones I saw looked like they were a couple hundred hertz shift, and there were two of them kilohertz or so apart.
No, they're exactly 7 kilohertz shifts, very wide, very
Oh,
low,
okay.
like 20 baud, very low. At first, you think you're hearing random CW, but then
Okay.
it's actually just FSK at approximately the same baud rate that we use for CW.
Were these around 7130, 7140?
No, they're down to 70. They
Okay.
move around, and they're usually come in pairs. There's usually two of these things.
Okay. Yeah, I
And then
saw a pair of them around the 7130, 7140 region the other
that
day.
high? Oh, maybe it's possible that high, but the
Yeah.
ones I've seen are below 7100.
Right. But usually the ones we're seeing are coming out of Asia and Russia. There's a
Yeah.
there's a radio station that's been there as long as I can remember. That's around 7133 ish. It just
7133.
fires up every like 5-10 minutes or something, and sends a few minutes. But that's been there for decades, as from what I recall. And then this other slow thing showed up too. You're right.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was ready until you mentioned it some weeks ago, or slow phase shift of some kind.
Well, slow frequency shift, but
Yeah,
the
that's what I
shift is very abrupt. I mean, you can see the smear in the waterfall, which means that it should be very easy to locate with time of arrival. I think this ought to be something we can put into KNIQ radio, basically, that act as a auxiliary service. The one, the QSDR, is cool, but it's kind of hard to use. You got to manually choose them and run a
And I
data.
actually had occasion to look for a signal the other day, a week or two ago, and I was surprised most of the Kiwis that had it had disappeared from the map at that point.
Well, come and go. Oh, is this one of them here? I think I'm seeing one right now on KFS. I mean, it's so ratty. I mean, it kind of stands out in the waterfall. pair of lines here. Yeah, let me see where they are right now. If I'm KFS is getting them, you can probably get them too. Okay, one of the tones is at about 7043, I think. Am I looking at the right one or am I, no. Hold on a second, let me turn the audio on. Yeah, it's one of them. Yep. Yeah, it sounds like random CW. Let me see if I can get a better measurement here. 7050 is the higher one right now. And then 7043 is the lower one. Yeah, 7 kilohertz apart. And they're pretty strong at KFS at the moment.
Did that sound like it?
I can't hear it.
Oh, okay, that's right. Zoom
You're not
really,
piping, you have to pipe your audio in explicitly. The microphone won't pick it
Yeah,
up.
I just logged into the University of Twente, and there's a pair of them. There's
Yeah, that's where I was seeing them this morning.
yeah,
Very strong. Yeah.
7043 and 7050, and another pair of 7060 1.5 and 7060 8.5.
They move around occasionally. You'll see both lines. You know, it maintains the same shift, but then they'll abruptly tune by, I don't know, 500 hertz, 1500, something like that. I mean,
Right.
this kind of screams, you know, low tech anti jam, like Russian, maybe, you know, kind of stuff they would do. But they're being seen a lot now, and the reports I've seen are all secondhand, but they say Crimea, which says it's probably involved with the war somehow. You see him?
It's well, I just getting on northern Utah to see if I can see them.
Okay.
they're S9 in North Carolina.
Yeah. 7043 and 7050.
I'm
Exactly
listening to the
70.
the 6150 one right now, and it's S9 plus.
61.
I thought that's what you said.
No,
There's a
well, the
signal
ones I'm
there.
seeing that I'm looking at, it might be more, but is 7043 and 7050.
Well, there's a signal there anyway.
Yeah. But if you
7043, you said.
yeah,
I listened to
that's the
that one
lower tone.
earlier, and
That's the lower tone.
Yeah, I'm seeing both of them in northern Utah very
yeah,
easily.
it's S9 also.
Yeah, they often occur in pairs. They're probably not in the same place. But if you look on the waterfall, at least with KNIQ radio zoomed in, the lines look very different from a normal CW signal. They're obviously not filtered very well, so there's a lot of spectral smearing. In other words, you'll hear key clicks if you put a narrow filter nearby, but not on it.
You got this span set here pretty wide.
Um, yeah, I think there's no filtering at all. I mean, I see no difference when I switch between Kaiser and rectangular window.
We don't need no stinking filters.
Yeah, really. Well, hey, Russians, I mean, brute force is their motto. Yeah, very distinctive waterfall once you see it a few times. Bad key clicks. Where was that other pair, Clint, you saw?
Let's see, 706 1.5 and 706 7.5. No, 708.5.
That was the one I was listening to.
7061 and a half.
And a half, yeah.
Um, Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, I see the signal there. It's not as strong.
Right. Not quite
706,
as strong, but
1.5.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're both very audible in northern Utah.
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
that's,
yeah, eight kilohertz. So that was
that's,
Seven,
that was an 8 kilohertz shift, and the other one is
8. I've only seen them at 7.
wait 706
706,
706.8 and a
1.5.
half. You're right. Yeah, 7.
7. It's
That's
7. So 706,
yeah.
8.5 is the other one. Yes.
I, I wonder.
I'm seeing that too.
Oh, so and they both just shifted frequency by
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I just saw that.
they
I mean,
both
both
shifted
pairs just
exactly.
shifted. Yeah,
Yes,
at the same time, huh? Huh.
exactly the same instant, which
Yeah.
implies they're the same transmitter source, and it's. I mean, are they're not mirrors of each other, are they?
Well, that's worth checking. We
I
can
was
create
trying
multiple
to
channels.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
decide.
I moved out 1.5 kilohertz exactly.
Right at the exact instant.
Yeah. Well, it could also be synchronized with a clock, you know.
Right. But was it? Well, it might have occurred exactly at 8:31. Well, 2:31 UTC.
Yeah. I was looking at the clock. Yeah.
But I wonder if they're. I was watching the one in. I'm watching the waterfall in the University of Twente one. Dr.
Yeah.
DeBoer's.
So we're seeing the same one. The thing must be running very high power to be this widely heard.
Well, you know that. So that so that I don't know how much power is actually running, but that 7033 kilohertz signal from a few years ago, the 3 week key down. I estimated the power to be like less than 20, between 10 and 20 watts ERP. And
Yeah.
the way I determined that was I kind of presumed my antenna is more or less a gain of a dipole. How much signal do I need to equal that signal at various places in the world, including Europe and the Caribbean and all that? It turned out to be like 10, 15 watts was about right.
Oh, yeah. With reverse beacons, SDR. Yeah, you can check it in real time.
Right. And but I was also surprised that that signal, that stuck CW carrier, when it was all in the dark, you could hear it no problem all over Europe.
Yeah.
33 kilohertz, which actually kind of surprised me. But then again, I'm not one that does CW contesting on 40 meters, so I probably don't know how good the
Yeah.
band is.
The 7047.5. Is that WNAW? I think.
I
Sounds
think
right.
so.
Yeah, it is.
It's down there someplace.
Yeah, 7047.
Yeah, 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 it is exactly.
Now 15 words per minute. It's code practice. Yeah. God, I spent so many hours listening to them when I was in high school. That's how I got my code speed up for my extra.
Yeah, boy,
Yeah,
they're
that's
pounding in here.
WNAW. They're doing slow code.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
15
just
words a
tuned to
minute.
those 4 frequencies you guys mentioned. I don't hear anything here in New England.
No?
Nope.
That'd be weird.
Well, they did shift. I mean, you're looking pre or post shift here.
Well, you
So,
said 7043, 7050.
so if you tune to 7042 lower sideband, you should hear what sounds like random code.
I've got it
Yeah,
at
well, I have
7041.5.
Well, is the carrier at 7043?
Well,
No.
everything just moved a couple of minutes ago, so the
Oh,
actual carries at 704.1.5.
Right. That's correct. And then exactly 7 kilohertz above that is the mark or
7041
whatever.
and a half.
I don't know.
Yeah, what was weird was the lower one moved.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, they moved apart. They moved apart by exactly the same amount.
Yeah. And you see how dirty they look on a waterfall?
Oh yeah, the one in University of Twente shows it really really
Yeah.
well.
I don't think there's any filtering at all. When I flip between a Kaiser window and a rectangular window, it doesn't change the appearance at all.
Yeah, there's about 10 dB difference between the two in the Netherlands. The lower one is about 10 dB higher.
Yeah. Yeah, they're rarely the same signal strength, which is what makes me wonder if they're the same location.
Well, I mean, it could be on.
Well,
It could be pointed differently.
the Crimea is maybe one location from here.
Yeah, true.
Let's see if I can find another WebSDR that's. Let's see. There's a WebSDR in Chelyabinsk, I think. Let's see if that
Yeah,
actually.
this would be a good opportunity to, like, test the interference for your jam resistance of some new digital protocols.
Let's see here. Let's
I
see.
doubt the Russians would complain.
Let's see. So let's see. Let me see if I.
All I can say is they've got a bad fist.
Yeah, I mean, people listen to this trying to copy until they realize it wasn't code.
Well, it all reminds me that that movie where
On
the
the beach. Yes, I was
yes,
going to say the same
Oh,
thing.
right.
yes.
Yeah, they try to over and over to copy. They finally find the station, and it turns out to be a Coke bottle leaning against the key
Oh, I thought it
and
was
an open window.
yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
What I can't figure out was, why is the power still on?
yes.
You know how long a
Um,
power grid would last if humans all died?
they showed you the power plant and the big tank of oil
Oh, did they? Okay.
In the
It's been
movie
a
they
long time
did.
since I've seen the movie. Okay, so there was a local power plant. All
I
right.
saw that movie not too long ago. It was
Okay.
There's a remake.
Really?
I think it may be a mini series, but in the mini series remake, like 2000 or so, it's not CW. It's something off the internet, the MP4 file or something like that, and it's corrupt. They get some of the metadata out of it and some of the other stuff, and they start getting hopeful.
Oh, you're right. Okay, 2000 film, an
So,
Australian American television film.
so
It's not very good.
wasn't wasn't there was a similar thing in at the end of the Martian Chronicles where the world has been destroyed by nukes, but for some reason the telephone system's still working.
Yeah.
Well, of course,
That
it's
power,
not
right?
now, but
Yeah.
if anything's still working, it'd be them, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm tuned over. I'm listening on the Chelyabinsk WebSDR, and they're about the same strength there. So that's either telling us that it's they're the same site on directional antennas, or maybe just this one's closer to it. I don't know.
Just a little piece of trivia. I bought some um, Russian Numatron tubes, the ones with the filaments, 7 segment filament.
Yes.
They came from Chelyabinsk. And so actually, I bought them just after the asteroid.
So
The,
the
they've been irradiated.
Well, you know what? In that bolide happened and all the windows broke, it reminded me of the Flubber movie. If you remember that scene. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the first on the beach, that was 1959. Stanley Kramer, same guy who did
Yeah.
12 Angry Men, I think.
I actually read the book first.
Yeah,
I
I
did
read the
too.
book.
It was so depressing. Oh,
The
God.
Well,
book
yes.
the book was a little different.
Let's
but I
hope we're not
remember it.
headed there.
Yeah. Oh, in the movie, I'd forgotten this. The Morse signal comes from the region of San Diego. I guess the first time I saw it, I wasn't living here. It made sense since San Diego's a Navy town.
I You said that was in the book?
What?
That it was in San Diego? I thought it
No,
was
I'm reading the movie, the
yeah,
1959 movie.
but
Yeah.
I thought the book was Jim Creek.
Well, that would be a logical choice too.
But like I say, I read the book, but it was, like I say, when the book was out, I think I was in college.
Yeah, it was pretty. Well,
It was a
what
big,
probably inspired it.
was a depressing kind of
Very, yeah.
movie, but
It was probably inspired by Castle Bravo, the shot that got away.
Okay, yeah, the books. I'm just reading the synopsis of the book. Abandoned Navy communication school south of Seattle.
Right.
Okay.
oh, okay.
That
Yeah,
would make sense. Seattle or San Diego, either one would be.
right. That was the book. That was the novel. Uh,
Yeah.
just but the movie.
Well, San Diego's closer to Hollywood than Seattle, so it was probably easier to shoot there.
Yeah, San Diego was in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah, nuclear submarine has pretty much infinite endurance except for food and the crew
Right. And spare parts.
and spare parts. Yeah. So
I've been on one.
I never have.
Well, once they're run
Nin-
by AI, who needs the people?
Yeah, well,
1976, I was sitting at the bottom of the Irish Sea.
huh. I know
Not
several
really,
people.
but I
I
was
know
in the
several people
Irish
who
Sea.
served on them, but I've never been on
Yeah.
one myself.
This, I,
I've
we
been in them.
installed
I
a
haven't been on
receiver
them.
aboard it and we were testing it.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Steve Bible, who was the former
Yeah.
TAPR guy, was a nuke.
Yeah, that's right. I used to
Yeah,
serve on one.
yeah, I went to school with Steve at the U.
Oh,
Uh, there's a submarine that you can walk through down in I think it's Newington, New Hampshire, outside of Portsmouth.
Probably Groton. Oh, New
No,
Hampshire. You said New
New Hampshire.
Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I was
I think
thinking
it's
of
the
Groton,
Albacore.
Connecticut.
It's not a nuclear submarine. It's a diesel, but
Oh, well, there's several. Was. I don't know if there's still, there was,
oh, other countries still have diesel subs.
yeah.
I toured one in Germany. It was built for the Baltic during the Cold War in the early 60s.
Yeah. The thing I learned aboard a submarine, if you're sitting down, somebody's standing up.
I heard one of our friends who served in the one said it was like, going in a Winnebago with all the windows painted black.
So speaking of submarine, you've seen Das Boat, right?
Oh yeah, great movie.
It was actually it started out as a TV miniseries on German television.
Uh-huh.
Then it was re-edited into a movie.
It
So
is kind of lengthy, yeah.
right, but this miniseries is much more lengthy.
And I've never seen a movie with a more ironic ending
Right,
ever.
and the thing you get is you're cheering for them. You realize, wait, they're the baddies,
Wait a minute,
right?
that's the other side, yeah.
Yes, but then again, yeah,
Yeah, I mean I think the preface to the movie, the introduction says that they had a very high attrition rate in the U-boat service.
yes,
Yeah.
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 I liked
There's some
Red
nice
October. That came out well.
Hunt for October. Yeah. Well, that was Clancy, right? That was.
Yeah.
Right.
My dad, who took 5 years of Russian when he was going to college, tells me that Sean Connery spoke about as good a Russian as Dick Van Dyke did Cockney and Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins, yeah. Well, I've always liked how the main character in Sound of Music was in the Austrian Navy, which to me always sounded a lot of people sounded very funny, but it
Yeah,
wasn't always just Austria, I know.
yeah. Yeah.
No, it was a good musical.
Yeah. Sir, when I went to Austria for the first time and saw Radio Hill from Holzer, what was his call sign? OE9GHV, I think.
That's
I
it,
mean, I
right?
just couldn't stop thinking about Sound of Music because the place looked just like that. I was afraid Kimberly was going to be bored out of her mind. She loved the place. She wanted to go back last year.
My wife had a cousin who served in Austria in World War II, and at the end of the war, she was working for the government, the U.S. government,
Yeah.
and she always wanted to be buried in Austria,
Huh.
in Vienna.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I offered to take some of her ashes, and her son said, "No, don't bother."
Yeah. Well, I've been to Vienna, but I didn't see much of it because Kimberly got COVID while we were there on a river cruise. Somehow I didn't, though. I'd had it once before, so I was lucky. I do know the path from the dock to up to the pharmacy. I know that real well. One of the days I'll have to go back. I can't go to Vienna without seeing a good symphonic concert.
Has anybody watched the TV? It's on PBS, Vienna Blood.
No.
It's one of these.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
But what I enjoy about it, besides I think they're sometimes they're kind of tongue in cheek, but like when the guy opens the bomb and there's a cuckoo clock with the pendulum going back and forth, and he decides he has to carry it outside and throw it in the water before it blows up. He didn't think of stopping the pendulum, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Sounds like the bomb in Goldfinger, remember?
yeah, I love the scenery in some of those episodes where they show these old palaces
Yeah.
and just beautiful buildings and things. It's
That,
a
so that's the murder mystery, and the doctor is a Jewish doctor who has to deal with the just normal. Okay, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
that
that's pretty good. Yeah, I tend to have a soft spot for some of the PBS type mystery shows. I watch a lot of
oh
by.
I watch a lot of PBS.
Yeah, that's mostly what I
I
watch. That's about all I watch on off-air television these days. Hmm.
Gentlemen, I think I'm gonna hang it
Yeah,
up
me
for the
too.
night. It's been interesting,
As
as
always.
it usually is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody. 7-3.
Let me grab the chat window here. Save chat. Okay. See you all. I'll see you all later.
See you.
73.
I guess it's dwindleage is occurring. See everybody.